first and foremost, what I would recommend any organization that's looking to implement AI is first to do an AI assessment. And that assessment should include largely security, because AI is not going to cause a security risk. It's going to expose one that you probably already have, right? So you probably have some data that will be surfaced because AI is so good at doing that. Well, that data was exposed anyway, right? Somebody had access to it, or some services had access to it that shouldn't have. And now it's come to the surface because AI is doing that.
Welcome to Podcast Wise, Perspectives, Cybersecurity, and AI. Today we confront a critical challenge. How do you turn the inevitable flood of AI and digital transformation from a governance headache into a strategic customer experience imperative? Our guest is perfectly positioned to guide us through this complex transition. Michael Hamlin has carved an impressive 25-year career across the IT and communications industries. Starting as a certified Microsoft systems engineer and a CCNP, Michael developed a foundational technical architecture background. Since 2006, he has specialized in unified communications and contact center platforms at Mitel, seamlessly transitioning his expertise to the cloud-native world of UCaaS and CCaaS. Today, as a CX specialist at AppDirect, Michael is dedicated to empowering businesses with next-generation solutions that don't just connect people, but fundamentally optimize the entire experience of that connection. In this conversation, we'll dive straight into the crucial questions. What is the single greatest governance risk CEOs and CISOs overlook in their current AI deployment strategy? How does an executive leader shift their sales team from simply selling a product to architecting a complete customer journey? And why is your fragmented legacy system the biggest competitive advantage you are currently ceding to agile market rivals? Let's get started. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Hey, Michael.
Hey, Dan, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
Awesome. Okay, so we're talking a little bit about customer experience. Can you explain to the audience what that means in the technology world?
Yeah, so my title is CX specialist. CX does, as you articulated, does mean customer experience. And what that means is, historically, you might have heard of UCaaS, Unified Communications as a Server, contact center, CCaaS, contact center as a service. There are some other components to it, but CX basically is a term that's been used for a couple of years that kind of encompasses all of that, right? Because ultimately, every business is in business for and because of their customers. And to provide a better customer experience is what should be the goal, hopefully, if you're gonna thrive and survive as a business. And all of that goes back, internal communication plays into that. How you communicate, how your customer facing employees communicate externally obviously has a huge component of that. So that's the reason why I think those terms, UCaaS, CCaaS, there's even some other ones in there. I'll throw out another one, CPaaS, which is communication platform as a service, all kind of falls under that CX umbrella. So just a little bit easier to, rather than spitting out all these acronyms.
Yeah, because your title would be very, very long, like a
Yeah.
very alphabet soup, and then specialist.
Yeah, I think we've got enough of that in the world we live in today.
Yeah. And then if you have certifications, all the acronyms after your name would be even longer, right? So like it would be like a whole like alphabet soup, then specialist, and your name, and then another.
Maybe I'll get AI to build me a list of all the acronyms after my name that I can put in my signature line just for the fun of it.
Yeah. That'd be cool. So now tell me, in your career, you have spanned from network operations for a nationwide wireless network to consulting on complex UCaaS deals. What was the pivotal moment or insight that made you realize the next big challenge wasn't just connecting people, but optimizing the entire experience of that connection?
Yeah, it kind of happened organically as technology evolved. So
Mhm.
I started, and you can probably see, I started some time ago being network. I was in Cisco. I had my Microsoft certifications, had my Cisco certifications. And when I started, so through a series of events, I started really focusing on voice communications. It was right about the time voice over IP had been out, but it wasn't really, it was still untrusted. Like businesses were kind of holding an arm's length. Like, I don't know if I want to put our telephones on our networks. Is that something we should really do? So things were still largely digital and or analog
Mhm.
at that point. And so as I started getting into this and more businesses, I knew this was going to be, huge transformationally for businesses because people started writing applications. So not only, oh, am I communicating on a device that works over the network? It's a shared medium, right? I don't have to have a dedicated additional network for voice. But now I can take those packets and I can do things with them. I can say, hey, this person, if they call in, these packets are maybe more important than other packets, have VIPs. I can say, if it's waiting so long, move these packets, somewhere else. So we started having applications and it sort of just built on itself to get to the point where, more recently we've had CX, but now with the influx of AI that we've seen, that has really just accelerated. And the things that you can do now and the way AI is going to come along and assist that is just, I mean, it's completely changing the landscape.
Okay. Now, speaking of AI, as it moves throughout the world right now, like how does AI, like from a support tool to a strategic decision making layer in customer experience, what is the single greatest governance risk a CEO or CISO overlooks in their current deployment strategy for AI and CX?
Yeah, I think, and we're getting into an area. I'm not a security specialist, right? But
Mhm.
certainly, when you think about AI, what should be first and foremost, what I would recommend any organization that's looking to implement AI is first to do an AI assessment, and that assessment should include largely security because you AI is not going to cause a security risk. It's going to expose one that you probably already have,
Mm.
right? So you probably have some data that will be surfaced because AI is so good at doing that. Well, that data was exposed anyway, right? Somebody had access to it or some services had access to it that shouldn't have. And now it's come to the surface because AI is doing that. So I think getting an AI, that's the largest risk, right? Exposing employee records, exposing, how much do our C-suite make, those types of things. If that's not secured first, when you implement AI does a really good job of digging through vast amounts of data, which is why we use it, and surfacing that. So if somebody asks the right question, oh, now I know how much our CEO makes, right?
Yeah,
So not a good thing.
yeah. Or is it? Because then, well, it depends, right? It depends on how your perspective is.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
could be bad, it could be good, it depends. It depends if, like, the CEO makes, depending, like, I know there's a company where the CEO is like, I took a huge pay cut so that everybody is about in the same playing field." So
Hmm.
that's a good thing, right? It's transparency,
Yeah.
it's showing transparency. But if the CEO is making millions more than, the lower level, then there's like a little bit more contention in that space.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we will eventually live in a world where everybody's salary is just, it's transparent and everybody understands, hey, if you're in this position in the company, this is what you make. And if you want to move to this position, you'll make, this much more, or this much less. And it's just
Yeah. And then you
it's
have to
very
work for it.
transparent. But we're not that way today,
No,
for the
it's
most part.
not. Yeah. So your background blends technical architecture with sales strategy. For a VP of sales, what is the essential strategic shift required to move their team from simply selling a product to architecting a complete customer journey?
Yeah, and that is a good question. So customer journeys aren't something that a lot of are thinking about from the way that, or they older, maybe they have an older idea of the customer journey. Customers don't start that journey the way they used to, right? So used to, maybe the journey started, I would go to the store or somebody would call me on the phone and actually, proactive outreach, reach out, and I would think, yeah, I do need that extra car insurance or whatever it is. But now, for the most part, customer journeys are started by the customer, right? They're doing some Google research. They're doing, they're seeing something maybe even on Instagram, or somebody else has something. They're doing a bunch of that research up front. And then, so they kind of already have an idea, they're 75, 80% of the way there of what they want, or they may be 100% there. So it used to be that, a customer would come to you, they'd show up at say a car dealership almost completely, hey, I'm a Ford guy, so I'm going to go to the Ford dealership and I think I want to pick up, but I don't really know all the specs. I don't know. Salesman, help me out.
Mhm.
Now I'm going online. I'm doing all of this research. I'm comparing, the Ford F-150 to the Chevy to the GMC. And so I show up to the dealership pretty much nailed down exactly what I want. I just need you as a salesperson to give me the best price for that. Or I may already even know that online. So I think so when you mention customer journey, it really starts, and can we influence that before we get to, most people, and that's where I was saying this is transformed. Most people think of the customer journey as, oh, when they show up to let's go with the car dealership again. When they show up to our dealership, customer journeys. No, customer journey started weeks and months ago, right?
At
Can
home.
look
Mhm.
at that? And you can. There are tools out there, through search engine optimization, through based on how the customer's asking questions, how long are they on our website, what are they viewing on our website. All of these tools can go into customer experience and orchestrate that customer journey so that when that customer gets there, that, hey, Michael Hamlin visit our website 3 times. He's really looking at the Ford F-150. He seems to navigate toward the black one, the dark one. He likes a tow package. All of this is surfaced and has been captured on our website that he's been doing. And it goes into some tool in the background and can be surfaced or summarized through an AI summary to that salesperson. So that's kind of the future, or where we are. We're standing like right on the edge of that, of how things could look, as
Mhm.
opposed to me showing up to the dealership and the dealer having to start that journey all over again because they know nothing.
Yeah. And also like the repetitive in your face. Hey, here's the F-150. Here it
Mhm.
is again. Here it is again. 5 minutes later, here's an ad. Hey, you know,
Yeah, sometimes I'm worried by the ads that I get. I'm like, of everything you know about me, did you really think I would want to see that, see that product? I don't need that.
yeah, I've been getting right now I've been getting virtual assistants. So I'm like, huh, maybe I do need one. Like it's like, do I really need one? I've talked about it. Like, maybe we do need one, but you know, it's like I keep getting those kind of ads, and then sometimes I get like, depending on the last time I went to a store, I would get like Sam's Club, right? That's where I do my bulk shopping, but like I would get Sam's Club. I'm like, oh yeah, I do need to go there. I need to go grab some dish soap or something. Oh yeah, no, I need some eggs. I need to prep for something. And then they're like, here's an ad. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, and those things are, hey, maybe I'll, whatever the company is thinking, I'll take a shot that Tim needs eggs. But when somebody sends me or something for my pregnancy or something like that, I'm like, okay, where did this come from? Who, what company thought, oh, I'll just take a shot at Michael Hamlin and
That's funny. Yeah, we've seen some ads for babies on Amazon, like the Amazon Prime. We were watching some movie, and then we kept seeing a lot of like baby related commercials. And we looked at each other, we're like, my husband and I looked at each other, we're like, nah.
something,
You know, like, no, right? I was like, nope, this is not it. This is not for neither of us. Like we know it. Some of the commercials are targeted to us, right? So there's like,
Mhm.
we're really we like to work out and stuff like that. So we would get like a Peloton ad. We're like, I get it. I get why
Makes
you're
sense.
targeting us. It makes
Yeah.
sense. But no, I'm not getting a Peloton. No. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go work out at the gym and stuff like that. But I get why you would try to target Peloton to us. But baby commercials, Huggies, Pampers, no.
And eventually do we get to the point where it's not only targeted in your Peloton example, but, or, and there have already been some concerns about this, right? Is there going to be and I assume, I don't know if you're watching them on a device. On a device, you can kind of, they have cameras and stuff, so you can see, okay, are they paying attention to this ad, or is this like when they get up and go fold the clothes or something and wait for the ad to end? At what point is it going to be not only, okay, we targeted you with this ad, but we know how much attention you're paying to it, so we know whether to try something else or continue along with this ad.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll get to that if it's not there.
Yeah. Like how much attention you're paying to it. Yeah, that's scary. That's really scary. Now, many of the large enterprises are still operating with fragmented legacy systems for core business functions. From a CX standpoint, what is the most significant competitive advantage they are ceding to agile competitors by delaying a move to a unified subscription commerce model?
Yeah, and that is a really good question. So, and when you say they're siloed or segmented, I forget the exact word you use, but meaning the same thing.
Fragmented, yeah.
Yeah, fragmented. That goes all the way from businesses using still legacy systems. And when I say legacy, like physical boxes that are sitting in their closet that at any point, hard drives can stop, or, electrical overload or whatever. And their business goes down. And how long can you afford to be out of communication with your customers? And is it just your customers communicating with you? Customers expect more than just, I'm going to call them on the phone, right? Their competitors are allowing the customer to communicate in the way that they want. Am I texting the business? Am I contacting them through WhatsApp or some social media channel? Am I SMS texting? Do I have these capabilities, right, to let the customer communicate on the channels that they prefer? And not only that, so we started kind of there with multiple channels. So we'll call them, channels of communication. We started with multiple channels, but then there's a level beyond that, because it's great if I can text my, let's say, doctor's office. If I can text my doctor's office, if I can go online and I can chat with my doctor's office. I may be in the car, so I may prefer to call my doctor's office. Those are great. That's multiple channels. But there's also a thing called omni-channel, which is really where you want to be, which means, 10, if you call your doctor today and tomorrow you SMS text your doctor to confirm your appointment or whatever, do they know that it's the same person? So if those are fragmented, right, if they have one system for SMS text and then one, a legacy phone system sitting there, you might not be talking to the same person, and
Mhm.
those systems might not be connected. So when you text in the next day, that person's having to go and look up and say, "Oh yeah, confirm." So it's taking your time, it's taking their time, and it's for you. You may having to provide details over that you already provided on the phone the previous day. Whereas if it's omni-channel, so they have a unified communications platform. It's tied into their patient record through APIs, patient record system. Then they know, yes, 10 called yesterday. Now, when they're texting in, it's popping up on that that customer facing employee screen. This is 10. She did create an appointment yesterday. She's just calling to confirm or asking, hey, do I need to fast or whatever, do all blood work? And she's calling. It continues the conversation rather than starting the conversation over. And you mentioned earlier about being frustrated about having to repeat everything again.
Mhm.
That's what omni-channel does, right? Is it continues the conversation in a channel of your choosing rather than starting the conversation over each time you change the channel. That's what customers expect nowadays. And
Mhm.
in fact, the channel that you're meeting with today may be an AI bot agent, right? Completely freeing up their employees to do what you're going to have done. And that is focusing on the patient that's right in front of them rather than, having to walk off and answer, a chat or something like that. The AI agent's doing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I remember at one point where I was the doctors, and I was talking to the receptionist, and she's like, "Oh, verifying my identity, right?" And I'm like, "Okay, just give you the information." And I ask her the questions, and then she's like, "Oh, well, you need to talk to so and so about referrals." I'm like, "Okay." And then I had to repeat myself again when I had to talk to
Oh,
the
yeah.
referral person. And I'm like, really, you guys can talk to each other, text each other, chat, whatever, right? But I had to repeat myself about what I wanted to do, what I wanted to get done. And then she's like, oh, well, you need to talk to the doctor. I'm like, okay, okay.
And you're thinking, "I'm
Let's go.
about to have to repeat myself again."
Again. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, you know,
And then that so and this is what I love, right? So when I'm doing a discovery with a customer, if, I ask them, "Hey, what are your patients complaining about?" Or what are we've all been patients, we've all been customers too. So you kinda know stepping in if we stick with the healthcare, that's a pain point, right? For you as a patient. In that scenario, maybe they're not ready to go that the AI model and have AI handle some of this for them. Maybe they want to keep that, human being involved. But what they could do in that situation is they could have AI not necessarily deflecting you as a patient, but they could have an AI assistant that says, "Hey, the first person that the receptionist that you talk to 10, it summarizes like we all expect to when we join meetings, right? We want those meeting summaries. You can also have that done in a conversation, and most of the UCaaS providers are providing this. So it's summarizing the conversation as you talk. And when you transfer that to the nurse person, they get a summary of everything that was talked about.
Mhm.
And then when you transfer that, or maybe it wasn't a transfer, they finish, that gets written back to the patient records. And then so when you visit your doctor or whatever, that summary is already there.
Yeah.
You could have a full transcript, but really if AI summarizes it and puts it in I don't have to read the whole thing, puts it in a few sentences, they can start that conversation, from an informed standpoint rather than you having to repeat everything over again. So these are just like some of the tools that how AI is really transforming, customer experience. So you can see real easily, even with that one example, how that would have made your experience.
Yeah. It would be lovely if my if my practice did implement that technology. It would
Yeah.
it would be
Are
great.
what I hear frequently is, I don't wanna talk to a robot. Are you one of those people that, you would say that, like, so if you called your doctor and they say, "How can I help you today?" First of all, it recognizes who you are, 10, based on your voice, right?
Mhm.
It can voice authenticate you, recognize who you are. A number of things, your voice, your caller ID, it puts all those together and says, "I know who this is." So it says, "Thank you for calling, Tim. What can I help you with today?" Rather than you having to tell a live person, or worse than that, what a lot of people have is options 1 through 9, and your option is number 9, unfortunately, so you have to sit through 30 seconds of an auto attendant.
Mhm.
It's just a voice that says, "What can I help you with today?" And it could be, "Hey, I need to confirm my appointment," or, "Hey, I need to get record, I need access to the website." It could be whatever, right?
Mhm.
That you normally would have to be, "Okay, it's a receptionist. I need access to the website. Oh, I'm gonna have to transfer you over to somebody else who you're going to have to re-explain." So you get those people that say, I don't wanna talk to a robot, and that's because I think our robots have been so terrible in the past.
Yeah.
But now if you could call up and you could just simply say what you want, there's no transferring, there's no, I don't have to repeat myself. It simply gives you the answer back that you want because it has all of these things. It has all of these tools and resources at its disposal. I think ultimately you'd probably be overall more
Most satisfied with
with
the
that.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say that for the um repetitive asks and like tasks, like let's say that, oh, I need to confirm my appointment, or I
Mhm.
need to reschedule my appointment, I need to cancel my appointment, or I need a referral, or I need a refill for my medication or something like that, then I wouldn't mind it,
Okay.
right? But if it was like a problem that I needed to talk to somebody, then I would want to get to that somebody faster than, like, if I had the option to say, "Talk to receptionist," then it'll get me to the receptionist right away,
Mhm.
then sure. But Yeah, it would be more so like a combination of both.
Okay. And it's almost like we've talked before, Tin. I mean, we've talked before, but it's almost like we talked
I
about this
this before.
because that is exactly my point, right? There are always going to be, and that's always the fear is AI is taking jobs, or, from a customer perspective, is we're always going to have to talk to the robot. And if the robot can't figure it out, then we're just stuck. So there's always going to be companies that are going to take these tools, just like with the advent of the internet, everything. They're always going to take these tools and look for a way to cut costs, right? And that is always going to be their mentality. AI is just another tool. The ones that are going to excel, the ones that are going to use AI to provide a better experience. So, in your scenario, when you called in those repetitive things, take those off of the employees' plates so that when you actually do go and visit that doctor, they're able to spend more time with you. They're able to, answer your questions, not feel rushed, and not be divided by having to, run to the front desk or pick up the phone. So they're able to focus more on you and taking good notes and understanding exactly what you're there to see them for. And on the other side, the customers that are calling in just to schedule appointments and do those repetitive sort of things, they're getting it done quickly and efficiently, and it's not, it's not cumbersome for them. They're able to do that, and they're also not getting people whose focus is divided. They're just trying to hurry through it because they've got a patient standing there in front of them. So
Mhm.
there is a world in which AI can actually help us, and the companies that do it right are really going to exceed, going to excel versus the companies that are just coming in and like, okay, I want to use AI, I want to use CX to just cut costs so we can eliminate some employees. That's ultimately, I think the market is going to have an answer for those companies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I think that, if we can integrate, like for making appointments, just making appointments, if they can integrate like something like Calendly, like the concept of Calendly via phone and be like, oh yeah, I have this availability for X. Is that suitable for you? Right. And then
Yes.
we're like, oh yes, no. And then if it's a yes, then okay, we'll schedule for, Monday at 3 p.m. and see you then. We'll send you a confirmation text and that's that. And if it's no, then you're like, well, the next available is Tuesday at 2 p.m. Yeah, that works. And then, we'll have like a loop, right? Of
Mhm.
seeing like not a loop, but like a decision making tree.
Yes.
And then that, I think that would be great to have that.
Yes. And that completely exists today.
Okay.
These are, yeah, for healthcare, we're talking about healthcare, but what if it's, get your hair done, something I'm an expert at, right? That's a joke. You know, anything that sets an appointment, it's for taking your pickup in to have it serviced, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it can reach in, understand what's available. It can, if it's just asking you, you're just having a conversational message or conversation with this AI, natural language understanding. It can say, "Hey, would you like me to send you," rather than talking through, next Tuesday at 2 p.m. we have an availability. I can send you a text link that shows you and allows you to pick
Mm.
from all of the availables, and let you just pick that. Or, we can say if next Tuesday at 2 p.m. works, we can go with that. Absolutely. Those things can be scheduled, via voice or via SMS link or even email or however. That's combining what we have with AI with that omni-channel experience we were talking about and the APIs on the back end to tie into, whatever their systems that they're using. Three things I think are super important for customer experience, and they're not difficult. It sound this all sounds really really complex, but now UCaaS platforms have the AI capabilities built in.
Mhm.
They have pre-built APIs in most platform. Patient management, CRMs, all of them have open APIs. So they have the APIs to do it. And most of the communication platforms are omni-channel. So you have all three of those ingredients to make for a really good customer experience. It's just a matter of implementing.
Now, with customer data, is the fuel for next gen customer experience. What is the biggest non compliance related data silo challenge that prevents a company from creating truly predictive, personalized customer experience?
I think so. What we've had historically, we used to could tell you your customer data used to be what. So I know that Ting called yesterday, 2 p.m., talked for 15 minutes, and maybe the employee said, yeah, they purchased something, and then that's it, right? So we used to have that sort of customer data. Now with AI, we're able to, if you ever call and it says call may be recorded for quality assurance, right? So that call that's being recorded is also could be transcribed through AI and summarized on the back end and your intent understood. So it's not just now we're not just asking why did Ting call? What was her intent on
Hmm,
this call? So, and that's great, right? Because now we can understand why people are calling. There may be folks calling for things we didn't think about, we didn't foresee, right? It's not in our menu tree or whatever. And AI will start bubbling these up to the top and say, a lot of people are calling asking for product X and you don't have product X, maybe you should consider it or whatever. So we can bubble these things to the top. But the flip side of that is exactly what you asked. So now that all of this stuff is transcribed and recorded and stuff, what about your personally, if it's a healthcare or something else, what about your PII, your personally identified information? That's where you start to get into, their, HIPAA laws and all of those things that are compliant, or PCI, right? What if I gave you a credit card number and now that's stored? So that what the AI systems are really good about is they can automatically notice PII and they can redact that.
nice.
They can also automatically not only notice in the recording and the transcription, like credit card information, social security information, all of that, and redact that. But the good part about it is, historically, you used to call and if you wanted to purchase something, you had to give somebody your credit card on the phone, which means, now you're trusting that employee has your credit card. Did they write it down? Did they put it somewhere? Is it visible to everyone? Did they just remember it for themselves? Now these unified communications platforms will actually take that employee out of the loop. So it lifts the burden of not only that employee, but the company is
Mhm.
now no longer responsible for that PCI compliance because it actually takes the agent out of the loop, allows the customer to put in credit card information, and it can be an AI bot that's asking them, or it can say, hey, I'll send you a link and you'll do it on your phone. However, so there's a number of different ways you can do that. But it basically takes, that burden of compliance off of the organization because it's
Oh,
not
that's cool.
the employee is not exposed to it and all of that.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't know that. That
Yeah.
because I never experienced it before, so I was just that's new to me. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that, and these things are, again, this is, where we are now with through the use of technology. So you can see how, yes, people are afraid, AI taking jobs, AI, I'm going to be stuck with a robot or whatever. But you can see the flip side of that, how it can
Mhm.
be used to be really good for the customer experience, not only make it more efficient for you, but make you actually safer, right? Because it's doing the redaction, the stuff that we didn't used to do. That would be stored even if it's a voice recording, which we've been doing for decades. Potentially, you're telling somebody your credit card number, and that's stored in the recording for however long they keep it for. I
Yeah.
mean, that's dangerous.
And also like the social security number,
Yes.
a lot of time they use that to identify you, right? So
Mhm.
like, well, what's your social? You need the whole thing?
So even the digits, like for years, and we thought it was safe for, oh, okay, so I'm talking to a rep and they want me to enter the last four digits of my, it used to be considered more safe to do boop, 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 like that. But you can take those tones and what somebody's in, so even AI now, even real time, can redact those tones so that the agent, it's not in the recording, the agent can't hear it. So it's really, really completely separate from
Wow,
being exposed to anybody.
that's cool. Now, Moving beyond the reactive customer support, what are the three leading indicators of executive level customer churn that an AI driven CX platform can flag 90 days in advance? And how should a CEO mandate action on those signals?
Yeah, good question. It kind of goes back to what I was saying before is it's not only the what happened, but why you're calling. So now we have insight into you can sense hesitation in a customer, you can sense, if they're upset and all of this stuff. It's not only in the recordings that come out later so that all of those reports can be sent to like the C-suite and stuff. So much like you're asking, where are we at risk? Are there customers or patients or whoever they are that are calling in that are at risk that were unhappy, and see the why on that. But it can also it can give you some insight into tendencies. Are people more angry this morning because there's longer hold times? So it can give you actionable insight in the data that we used to have that was just like what happened. Now we understand why it's happening, and gives you options. You can think of like a chat GTP just on your data, so that C suite can say, why are people angry this morning, or why are people more impatient this morning, or whatever it is. And that AI can say, well, it's because hold times are longer.
Hmm.
Why are hold times longer? You have a larger call volume this morning than normal and not enough agents to cover, right? So they're just, it's like we like to use GPT or whatever. It's a chat GPT, but specifically on their data, and it's real time. So they can get insight and make real time decisions, rather than the old way was to wait a week until we get all of this data, and we still don't know why. We know what happened, we don't know why, but we get all this data and then a week later make changes based on it. No, we can make these changes in real time. And that's something that, C-level actually has access to. So they can have this portal right there for them to be able to just at any time not only alert them that something's happening, but to ask questions real time and really drill down into, what's going on. And we have this data that was unstructured. The most important data we have is what your customer is telling you, and
Hmm.
we used to not have access to that. Now we
Yeah.
do. We've made unstructured data now structured.
Oh, that's cool. Because the thing is, what would be, I'm quite sure that, places like Amazon and stuff like that would have that, like on their prime days. They know that 2 days, 2 or 3 days later, you'll have a higher call volume because, you did do a big sale, and then 2, 3 days later, the people will get their stuff.
Yeah, why isn't it delivered? Why isn't it sitting on my porch,
Yeah, exactly. Now, for future proofing leadership, considering the accelerate pace of technology, what is the essential non technical skill that today's C suite executive must cultivate to successfully lead a large scale, ongoing digital and customer experience transformation?
Well, and you said the interesting thing. So in all of this, we've been talking about organizations that are going to use AI correctly and ones that will probably fail to do that. And we talked about some of the things AI can lift off, right? The repetitive, the mundane stuff.
Hmm.
So that means your employees can be more human, can be more empathetic, and those are the traits that they really need to cultivate, because we can take the mundane stuff, the stuff that employees don't want to do, the stuff that's easy off of their plate, and let them be more human, more empathetic, right? That kind of opens the door and gives them room to be that. So I think, cultivating what should always have been cultivated, and now you just have more time and hopefully more freedom to be able to do that, because I've offloaded some of the, remedial tasks to my AI, and now I'm letting my employees do what they should do best. And so like you said, hey, I will be happy to reschedule my appointment or whatever, but I want the AI to understand if I maybe even proactively, right? So in your situation, you said, hey, I'd like I'd like to be able to say, hey, I want to talk to a nurse, I want to talk to the receptionist or whatever it is. And AI just say, okay, let me get you to that person. But maybe even proactively, like, okay, a couple of times you've tried to schedule the appointment and it's not matching up. Let me just get you to a person before you even ask, before you escalate,
Yeah.
before you get upset. Let me get you to that person.
Yeah.
That person that's more free now because they're not inundated with calls because everybody else is getting their scheduled and they can be more empathetic and they can really help.
Yeah. And also, if they can sense the tone, the change
Mhm.
of tone, the
Yes,
frustration, the size, like you're on the
absolutely.
phone, you're like, really, like I gotta do this again. Like the frustration and the tone of voice, or the size, I would see that would be great if the AI can pick that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're getting to that point. So it's, they started with generative AI or natural language understanding. It started doing these things based on the wording, right? The words that you say. When you say, "Oh, that's great." That's great to the AI means every two thumbs up. But it was the tone I used. Oh, that's great.
Right, right.
Not two thumbs up, right?
Yeah,
So we're getting to that point where it actually understands, the inflection of your voice and not just it doesn't just go by off the words that you use. Yes.
yeah. I could hear the sarcasm in there.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, given how quickly the technology you work with, from UCaaS to customer experience platform, evolves, how do you personally stay ahead of the curve and decide where to invest your time and resources?
Yeah, and it's purely driven by what customers are asking for, but it is, and I can't imagine that's the reason why. So what I get to do is I get to help, through the use of technology, I get to help customers improve their customer experience, right? But what I like about what I do is that they have full-time jobs, so their job is selling widgets. They don't know what's out there in the customer experience landscape, right? I do. I get to focus on it all day, every day. And I can still, to your question, I can still barely keep up, right? I'm sure that there's some areas I have some blind spots, but hopefully I'm a little more informed of what's out there than somebody that has a 40, 50, 60 hour a week job and they're just running as fast as they can focused on that business. What I get to do in my job is listen and understand. And typically, when I'm talking to customers, especially at first, there are customers that are very technical and understand. They want to talk technology right off the bat. But generally, what I'm doing is I'm talking through a customer's business. I'm trying to understand their pain points, where they'd like to be in the future, what they're experiencing now, what's not going well, and have that conversation first and understand their business inside and out before then I go back and think about, okay, how can we apply technology to their workflows, to their pain points, to improve that. And it's not, a lot of, and because I get to view all vendors, I'm basically a technology broker, even though I don't like the negative connotation of the word broker, but I get to view kind of all technologies. If I was working, and I have worked for a specific provider, I kind of have to view it through, when you work for a specific provider, you kind of have to view it through the lens of, okay, what nail can we hammer with this one hammer that we have? I have all tools available in my tool belt to be able to step back and say, okay, what do the customers say their pain points were and where do they want to go? And now what technology providers can I provide to solve those issues? And that's what I really love about what I get to.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do the same, but with more like cybersecurity.
Mhm.
And so instead of calling it a broker, I call it the professional matchmaker.
Nice. That
When
never
people
I
say,
might not introduce myself as a matchmaker, but
"What?
I'll workshop
What?
it.
The technology matchmaker or the CX matchmaker."
Yeah, that would work. Yep.
Um, so when you think about the most innovative or elegant solution you've seen in the technology space recently, what was its core element that impressed you the most? And what lesson does it offer to executive leading large and complex teams?
Yeah, I think, probably the most rewarding is somebody that a customer that comes in just open to, hey, this is my problem, not with preconceived expectations of a lot of times customers are doing things because they've been doing it that way for 40 years, because what they don't realize is that business process was because that's what the technology allowed 40 years ago.
Mhm.
And they think it has to be done that way. But if we can step back, if the customer can step back with you and understand, okay, here's the problem that we're experiencing, and we'd like it to be this way. Okay, let's workshop this a little bit and understand the business process maybe that you're using. If we could tweak that a little bit, if you're open to that. So that's been the most rewarding ones, are the customers that are completely open to, you know, understand that we may not be doing this the correct way. There may be a better way to do it. And you just help us work through some things, or tell us what's available. And so to see them actually, me propose something and to then see like a demonstration of that product and see how it could change their workflow and the light bulb come on, those are the most rewarding and have been, I think, the best.
Yeah, so when they're like open-minded to the change,
Absolutely.
you know, to to see something different and be like, okay, yeah, I'll,
Yeah,
let's try this out.
I didn't know that was we could do it that way, or I
Mhm.
didn't know that was available, or that tool. Those are, especially because, if it is because it's a business process that was built on, that's the way they had to do it because of older technology, that to me is really rewarding for them to break out of that mold and say, "We don't have to do it B1, B2, B3, C, do it in this exact order. Maybe we could short circuit all of those and get to a better result."
Yeah, it's not like when you're trying to do the cheat code on Nintendo 64. I
There you
have to
go.
have
Yeah,
A's, you know,
exactly.
because when you say A1, B1, B2, B3, I'm like, "Oh, it sounds like the cheat code for Nintendo 64, or like one of the games." But you don't have to do that anymore, right?
Yeah. Up, over, down, B. Yeah.
I date myself. Okay. So I don't have any more questions for you, except for this one. So, what advice would you give yourself? Maybe, let's say, lower 20s, mid 20s, if you can go back.
Are we talking just life advice in general or business sort of advice?
Let's go with life in general.
Oh, man. Wow, this one, there's so much. Maybe I could go to AI and ask. Life in general, I would say invest, buy an Amazon stock or one of those. If I'm being honest, that's probably what it would be. But no, just life in general. Just stay curious, constantly be learning. Don't ever get to a place where you think you can sit down and rest because I know enough about this subject or whatever. Stay curious, constantly be learning.
Very insightful. Well, thank you so much, Michael, for your time and educating me and my audience about customer experience.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, actually.
Awesome. And thank you for the audience for watching. See you next time. Bye.